Thank you for joining me for mini episode number 13 of the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. Today, my guest will be Keven Rinaman from a conversation back in February of 2020 where Keven and I were at the OETC conference here in Columbus, Ohio, and we discussed computer-aided design and other fun technology things. I hope you enjoy the show. Let's get to it.
Hi, I'm Jen Giffen from Shooks and Gift the Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast with Jake Miller.
Hello, duct tapers! Welcome in. I don't always record an intro to the show's mini episodes, but I wanted to share a few items with you prior to my chat with Keven Rinaman. First off, I unintentionally skipped posting a show last week. Unintentionally, like I knew it was happening, but I did not plan for it to happen. I was so bogged down in some other work, which I'll actually be telling you about in a second, and just didn't have time to record the episode, so I just didn't do it. It just wasn't, I don't know. I wanted to do it. I really did. I promise. My plan was to do the season 2 finale episode, but now I've pushed that one back to next week, hopefully on July 1st. That means that you have some bonus time to record a success story to share on that episode. Oftentimes, I find that educators feel more confident to try new things in their classrooms or schools when they hear about other educators who are, quote, just like them, end quote, doing similar things. So when it's not just me, like, oh yeah, Jake Miller does that. Well, great. He's the educational duct tape guy. But then when you hear another educator say it, you're like, oh, that sounds awesome. And so I'd like to share with them things that you have done. I'd like to celebrate your awesomeness to motivate other educators' awesomeness. So think of something that you learned on this show, this season, and submit a recording of yourself sharing about it. Head to eduducttape.com/season, the number 2, share. That's eduducttape.com/season2 share, and the 2 is the number 2, and record your success story by June 30th, and it'll be on next week's episode. Again, I plan to have that episode out on July 1st, but we'll see. That's a lot of audio editing, so it may be a little bit later. That link will be in the show notes if you want to get to it that way, if you didn't write it down fast enough or anything like that. It's just a flip grid, so you'll go in there, you record a 2-minute flip grid. I will strip the audio out of the video, so the video won't be part of the podcast or anything like that, and I'll stick it into the podcast, and you'll get to hear yourself on the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is the second and third cohorts of the Best Practices and Tools for Learning in All Settings workshop that I am doing in partnership with Kent State University's Research Center for Educational Technology. So the reason I didn't get the podcast out last week was because I was so busy preparing all the content for cohort 1 of that class, and cohort 1 is going so well that we decided to launch registration for cohort 2, which will run July 6th to July 31st, and cohort 3, which will run August 1st to August 12th. In the 12.5-hour virtual asynchronous course, you'll learn alongside other educators about my 4 MVPs, most valuable players of blended and remote learning: Flipgrid, Screencasting, Edpuzzle, and Pear Deck or Nearpod. These are the 4 tools that I feel are the most valuable in blended or remote learning settings, meaning you will be prepared for whatever school looks like in the fall, whether we're completely remote, completely face-to-face and using technology in a blended format, or whether we're some kind of hybrid model. I think these are the 4 tools that will truly prepare you for all of those situations. So taking this course will get you prepared for whatever comes at you, at least in terms of the technology aspect of it. You'll do the course whenever it fits into your schedule, as long as you finish by the scheduled end date. The only synchronous class element is the optional office hours. Otherwise, it's all asynchronous and based in Google Classroom. You can even get graduate credit for the course through Kent State University. You can get more info at jakemiller.net/KSU. That stands for Kent State University, June 2020, June 2020. jakemiller.net/KSU June 2020, or just click the link in the show notes. All right, now let's get to today's interview. This is the first of the last 4 mini episodes of the show. So we've got 4 left. This is number 1, and there'll be 3 after this one. I'm not going to have time to do mini episodes next school year. Who knows, maybe a year from now or something like that, I'll start them back up again or something like that. But for now, we've got 4 more coming today, and then 3 over the course of the next month or so, and that'll be it for the mini episode format. But today's features the host of the Magic Potion EDU podcast, Keven Rinaman. Let's meet Keven.
Today's guest.
All right, so I'm here again at OETC. My note says I'm at Brucadia. That's across the street. I'm not really at Brucadia right now. It's a nice.
Well, I mean, we could be.
We could be. It's a nice arcade game bar place, but we're not. We're in OTC. I promise. I'm actually inside the conference. I'm here with Keven Rinaman. Keven is the host of the Magic Potion EDU podcast, which is where I first got to know Keven, is through that podcast, which is an awesome podcast, and on Twitter. And then we were both here at the same conference. So I went to Keven's session yesterday, and Keven was at mine today. So Keven, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I am the Director of Technology as well as the middle school and high school technology teacher at Calvary Catholic Schools in Tiffin, Ohio.
Okay.
About 90 minutes away from here.
Okay.
Because that's how we measure things in Ohio. By
how many minutes?
How many minutes.
Right.
It's not by miles or where we are in relation to everything. So I've been there for 12 years, a variety of roles between teaching, coaching, administration. That's the small Catholic school mentality. If something needs done, you just hop in and do it. So this year I moved back into the teaching in the classroom for the first time in 7 years. So that's been a little bit of a change to get adjusted to.
That's probably a lot of work to manage the technology and to be in the classroom.
Yeah, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Right. It's fun to be back with the kids and be able to see that spark in their eyes and when they realize something.
Yeah, it's hard when you're just in like I'm gonna call it an administrative role, whether it's administrative or not, but you're just in one of those roles and you don't get exposure to being with the kids, right? You need to keep that mindset. That's what we got into the profession for, right?
Yeah.
So even if you don't feel the need to be at the front of the classroom every day, every period, like it's important to have those connections. So it probably does benefit you a lot to do both.
Yeah,
you're probably working yourself to the bone, but
it was nice to be able to have those interactions. And I knew what teaching was,
right?
But even when you get into that administrative role, you kind of forget all the work that goes into teaching.
Right.
It's not just show up and do a lesson. There's lesson planning, lesson prepping, then there's the grading. And so I always respected teachers, even in my administrative role, but now I really respect them even more.
Both, yeah. So tell us about Magic Potion EDU. I know because I listen, but let's tell them about it.
Absolutely. So Magic Potion EDU I came up with about 2 years ago, and it kind of developed from, originally I had a blog. I'd still run the blog. It's called Teacher's Tech Toolbox.
Okay.
So that's where I go to share all my technology tools. But then after listening to podcasts and getting into that, I came up with this, what is it that can make educators better?
Okay.
What can hopefully help you find that spark again if the spark is fizzled out? So MAGIC is an acronym. It stands for motivate. So you got to motivate yourself. You got to motivate your students. So you got to find your why. The students have to find their why and let that guide us. A is for assess, not only like formative assessment, summative assessment, but also reflecting on your own lessons.
Yeah,
I think that's something
huge,
that we forget about at times is, we finish the lesson, we just want to move on, go something else. But we really need to go back and look at that.
Huge,
G is get out there, going to conferences like we are here, or getting on Twitter. I is integrate. It wouldn't be me without integrating technology.
Right.
But now being back in the classroom, I'm realizing that there's so much more to integrate than just technology. You need to integrate all content areas, and it's not just calling STEAM for STEAM or STEM for STEM, but actually trying to find ways to bring those in and give real-life world applications to your projects that you're doing in class. Yeah. And then C, the biggest thing I wish I would have learned early on, stay calm.
Yeah.
Things are not always going to work right. Technology will fail. You just got to roll with it and go. So you stay calm when that happens.
I worry about the blood pressure of educators, right? It's a stressful career, especially there's just so many things that are so high stakes and so stressful in our careers, and dealing with technology to some people is just like another stressor, right?
They're not comfortable with it.
Stay calm. Yeah. So on educational duct tape, we kind of runs parallel to what you do with Magic Potion, but what we talk about is seeing the technology as a tool to solve problems, right? So we're looking at the duct tape as something that's going to solve a problem. We're not setting forth to use duct tape. We're trying to solve a problem. So tech tools are the same thing. We're trying to use it as a tool to solve a problem or meet a goal or address a learning standard. So I'm going to ask you an educational duct tape question. So my question for you is, how can we help students find problems and solve problems? So they can do it out there in their lives, but how can we, inside the walls of the school, help them identify problems that need solving and find ways to solve them? What's something that you do? What's a way you use technology to do that?
Well, one of my big things is 3D printing. It just kind of started with this is cool, let's get one, see what it's like, and now it's turned into, we can do a lot of cool stuff with this.
Right.
And the most meaningful projects that we've done have been to solve problems like you're talking about. One example is our custodian had a floor buffer and a bushing broke on it.
Okay.
It was going to cost $70 to get a new one.
Okay.
So we took it to class and said, hey, can you make this?
Right.
So the kids took the broken one that just had a big crack in it. They learned how to use calipers, so they were involved in math and everything. And it took them 4 times, so they had the whole design process in there.
For sure, yeah.
And they eventually did get it.
Yeah.
So it fit, it worked. I don't know how well it held up over time. Yeah. I never got the end of that story, but a lot of being able to look around and seeing when somebody needs help and finding a way that you can help them out with it.
That's awesome.
One of our teachers had a tumor on her thumb, and the top part of her thumb had to be amputated.
Goodness.
So now my students are working on 3D printing and designing a prosthesis for her.
Wow.
So that's
cool.
That's a way of the students showing empathy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to make that connection because
Right.
they had this teacher before.
Right.
So then now, after we finish with this project, we can go out and see how we can affect the world
Right.
with that same mentality of it isn't just a let's print off the baby Yoda or something like that.
Right. We'll do that too.
Yeah.
But
That can be how you learn how a
it,
printer
right.
works. But then we have to go forward with using it for the good of the people.
Well, that empathy is a huge thing in being like a 21st century problem solver. Like if you're looking to make change or be an innovator or be an entrepreneur or something like that, you've got to identify something that people need.
Yes.
And that means you've got to be empathetic for them, right? So sometimes it's an individual problem like the teacher you're talking about. At other times it might be something bigger, but developing that, hey, the custodian needs a new piece for the broom, and this teacher needs a prosthetic thumb. Like doing those things gives kids those experiences, and like that's PBL right there, right? That's huge. That's definitely PBL right there.
And you can easily integrate other content areas into that.
Yeah, for sure. So what tech tools do you use for it?
With 3D
3D
printing,
printing,
my typical stuff is coming up with a design on TinkerCAD.
Okay.
And then I use MakerBot printers in my classroom, so luckily the software is all included with that
Right.
purchase, so that takes a big step out of the process because the kids do their design work, send me the file, and we go ahead and click print and come back an hour or 24 hours later, depending on what the print is.
What you're printing, yeah. What ages of kids are you having using TinkerCAD?
Right now, it's specifically in my class, I'm teaching 7th, 8th, and 9th grade.
Okay.
But I've gone and worked on projects with as low as kindergarten.
Yeah, I believe it, yeah.
We didn't really do, they didn't really do anything in TinkerCAD. It was more of they were doing the hand-drawn clouds, and then I was converting it, putting it in TinkerCAD.
You showed that in your session yesterday. So they're drawing like a 2D thing, and then you're pulling it out to
Yep.
make a 3D thing within TinkerCAD yourself.
Yes, and then the kids have something tangible they can
Right.
take home while learning the different cloud types
Yeah.
for the weather patterns
Yeah.
and everything.
Have
there.
you seen how TinkerCAD does the AR thing now? Where you is that TinkerCAD that does it? Yeah, it's TinkerCAD. Where you could have it on your phone and like picture it sitting on your desk or
No.
whatever. Have you seen that?
I haven't messed around with that very much.
Yeah, there must be. I just saw a tweet about it the other day. There must be an app where you can upload your design to it, and based on the scale that you made it at, you could then using AR see it in your setting.
Oh, I wonder if that was 3D Bear because they do stuff like
See,
that.
the 3D Pair does it too, but I'm pretty sure I'll have to check later, and I'll put if I find out that I'll put in the show notes whether I'm right or wrong, and if I'm right, I'll link in the tweet that I saw about it.
I feel like there's a Merge Cube one that does
And
something
there
like
is
that
Merge Cube
too.
too, right? I think Merge Cube can come from TinkerCAD as well. But I'm pretty sure TinkerCAD just does it on its own right now, so you could just have like that thumb setting on the desk or like hold up that broom and show that piece on it and see if is it really lining up? Is it really at the right spot where we thought it would be before you print it? It's kind
Yeah,
of
I'm
like,
definitely going to have to look into that.
right, it's kind of like an early prototyping step there.
You're solving a problem that I didn't even know I had.
Well, we talked about that earlier. That's what technology does, right? And then, okay, so you said TinkerCAD and then MakerBot printers you said you use. Have you found any limitations with TinkerCAD? There's certain things that you're like, I can't do, I need a different tool than that? Or do you find
there's
TinkerCAD's-
some things that TinkerCAD's good for beginners,
Okay.
but you can't be, it's not the most precise when it comes to like making curves and angles and all
Right.
that type of stuff. But for ease of use and kids' first time doing stuff, like I said in my session yesterday, they grew up playing Minecraft,
Right.
so they just have this, they can just build.
Right.
They take the geometric shapes, they drop them in, and they make their stuff. I've been really amazed with how quickly students can pick it up and run with it and make something really cool looking in the first hour of touching the program.
Yeah, and it goes back to your goal too. Like, you're not trying to turn them into mechanical engineers as 12-year-olds. It's like, so you don't need them to be able to use SolidWorks or some super sophisticated problem. Like, you're trying to help them problem solve.
Yes.
Or learn about clouds, like in that one project. And so TinkerCAD is good enough because it's a great introduction. And it's very capable. You're not going to go use it as an engineer designing cars or something like that. But it's very capable.
There was somebody designing a car in my session yesterday as I was walking around trying to help people. And sure enough, he's got a little race car right there. I'm like, whoa.
Nice car, buddy.
And then as I go around the back, somebody was using SolidWorks too. I'm like,
what are you
in the advanced session or something?
Why are you in here in TinkerCAD using SolidWorks?
Oh, is it snowing now?
Nice.
Oh, yeah, we're supposed to get bad snow today.
I don't know if the mic picked up the two female teachers. They didn't have to be female teachers. They just were. I'm just being factual here. Scurrying out into the snow with a little squeal as they went.
Now, see, a few weeks ago, I was down at FETC in Miami.
There was no snow.
We didn't have snow down there.
There was no snow. You did not have to run through the snow.
I was sweating.
You were sweating. Yep. I love Ohio. But I wish I was in Florida right now.
Yeah, right now, yes.
Right now, yes.
They can keep their hurricanes, though.
I'll
trade the
true.
snow.
We'll come back in the summer. I'll be a winter bird heading down there. Well, Kevin, I appreciate you being on the show today, and I hope everybody's going to check out Magic Potion EDU and tell them where can they connect with you. I think you already said it earlier, but what are your Twitter handles and your websites and all that stuff too?
Absolutely. Well, I got a whole plethora of them basically. Yeah. My Twitter handle is at Keven Rinaman, KevenRinaman. Yes, that's Kevin with 2 E's. Thank you, Department of Vital Statistics. That's a whole story for another day.
It was a curly cursive I there, I bet.
Good golly. And then my blog is teacherstechtoolbox.com or teachtoolbox on Twitter. And then my podcast is Magic Potion EDU, which is at Magic Potion EDU. I know that's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
Remember there. And the website is magicpotionedu.com. The podcast is available on all major platforms.
Nice.
So yeah, I'd appreciate it if y'all checked it out.
Yeah, I hope they will. I think they should. I've listened to some episodes and I really like it. I like the format of the show, and I think the MAGIC acronym, like we talked about earlier, is kind of in the right mindset that teachers need to hear about. So this is the point in a mini episode where I normally take a selfie while I'm recording.
Okay.
But I'm really worried that if I take a selfie with you, it's going to stop recording.
So why don't we take it with my phone?
We'll take it with Kevin's phone.
And then we'll airdrop it.
Look at us problem solving, everybody. So here's our on-air selfie right now. It's proof that this just happened. There was an on-air selfie. They can now go in both episodes because I'm going to be on a Magic Potion EDU episode as well. Uh-oh, and we're already airdropping. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this mini episode with Keven Rinaman here at OETC.
Thank you for listening to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. Please visit eduducttape.com to join the discussion, share possible topics, inquire about being a guest, or contact Jake. And remember, duct is spelled with a T, not a quack quack K.